All right, guys, so we're going to start with finishing up 12B. I think we just have one question we didn't finish to practice regression, okay? And then we're going to go back and do 10B kind of as review / warm-up problems on some more phase shifts. Yesterday we did some pretty easy ones, had no nasty fractions going on. And then we're going to start talking about writing equations given the graph. All right. I'm not here after school tonight, just so everybody's clear on that. I am at math contests. And then I'll see you Tuesday. I'll be here Tuesday morning, but you guys get a long weekend. All right, so these were our notes. We may need to come back to these, but for now, let's just do the regression. Okay, so this is example 6 at the bottom of worksheet. Is it 12B, guys? Do I have that right? Yeah. Okay, so January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So they didn't skip any months, but we only have 1 through 8. And then we're supposed to eventually make a prediction about October here, which is month 10, right? And we want to put this in, find the sinusoidal regression, and store it so that we can use all those long decimals. All right, can everybody type this in? Stat, enter, 1 through 10. I'm going to just delete some stuff down here at the bottom. No, we only have through 8, right? Yeah. We're looking for 10 eventually. Okay, there's, in list 2, I'm actually going to clear out. And then I'm going to attempt to put these numbers in. 10, 8, 11, 15, 24, 30, 32, and 29. What is this? I don't think it's temperature, is it? Oh, number of visitors in thousands. We should pay attention to that. To a museum each month. Okay. I'm going to turn my stat plot on and look at this because I just want to see if it's sinusoidal. You would not necessarily have to do this on a quiz. Zoom 9. Oh, and I have an old one in here. Okay, so that's definitely looking kind of sinusoidal, right? Like some kind of a sine or cosine curve. Okay, so after I put the data in, I did second y equals, turned plot 1 on, and made sure it said list 1 and list 2, and then I did a zoom stat. All right, so we're going to go stat. How do we find the regression? Calculate. Yes, down to see where it's sine regression. And then you can leave all this stuff, just make sure it says list 1 and list 2, but we do want to store it. So it's vars, arrow to the right, enter, whichever y equation you want to put it in. If I put this on here, so the equation, I'm going to be lazy and just round to a couple places because I'm going to use the stored one anyway. So I'll have 12 as A, and then it's sine bx plus c 0.6, I guess I'll go 3.8 on that one, whatever, plus c, c is minus, right? Minus 2.86 plus d 19.84. Okay, whatever. On the quiz, hopefully I told you what to round to, but the bottom line is if you store it and use all the decimal places, we should all get the same answer here. But you have to be in radians, okay? It doesn't matter until now what mode you were in. You'll get the same bunch of gobbledygook here, but when you plug it back in and it actually takes the sign, that's when it needs to be in radians. So mode, make sure you're in radians. All right, then I should just be able to go to the table and look at 10 for October. or type in 10 if you have it on Ask Auto. Or you could go to the graph, but I don't know that my window goes out to 10. I'd have to make it go out to 10. And then I could do trace up arrow so I'm on the equation and put in a 10. So we get 15.37 either way. He is currently at the, what did you tell me? Leadership conference? You know where that is? Okay. Because I don't. 15.4. Did someone else get 15.4? Was that what was in the table as well?
No.
Yeah, okay. So we can make it 15.372 or 15.4. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to be that picky. But what is it? Thousands of visitors. So you either need to label that here, or you could multiply by 1,000 and make it 15,372 visitors. All right. I don't know that it's that tricky on the quiz, but you get the idea? No questions about how to do the regression? Everybody's calculator's working? All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is worksheet 10. Side B, we skipped a bunch of stuff. This is about as ultimately ugly as I could give you. Okay? And I'm not even going to make you graph this one. 10B? At the top of 10B? Yes? I'm like, I thought it was pretty clear. All right. So I think this or blank is for us to do what? Does anybody know what we want to do before we start this problem? Yeah. What is multiplied by x right here? Yes, good job. So we have -2 cosine 1/4 x minus, and then we have to divide out 1/4 and a +2 on the back. All right, so what are we dividing by 1/4? The pi over 3. So pi over 3 is being divided by 1/4, which would make it pi over 3 times 4 over 1, or 4/3, 4 pi over 3. Okay. If you look at the graph over here, does it look like it shifted to the right 4 pi over 3? Because the shape was what? A negative cosine? So it would start at the minimum? All right, so who wants to fill something in? Haley, pick something. What do you want to put in there? Any blank. Good job. Tara? Well, let's talk about the period. It'd be 2 pi divided by what's b in this equation? Yes, and do you know what that would be when you flipped that over and multiplied? Good job. So from here to where it finishes is supposed to be 8 pi. If I subtract those two numbers, I don't get 8 pi, do I? I get 20. If I subtract those, don't I get 24 pi over 3? Oh yeah, sometimes 24 over 3 is 8. Whew. I told you it was going to be a bad day for a half hour. Right? You see what I'm talking about, guys? The distance from here to here, if I subtract, is this far, which is 8 pi. Okay, back to this. Phase shift, who's got that one? What do you have? And the amplitude, anybody? Is it -2? It's always just 2, okay? And so the vertical shift was up 2, and then it went up 2 above that and 2 below that, so it went to 4 and 0. We're good? All right, because that's kind of what we're going to do today. We're going to have to come up with that equation, so that was a good warm-up. All right. We have to factor this. What are we factoring out? Okay, so we'd x plus, if you divide that by 2, you just have pi over 2. So if we distributed back through, we'd get 2x plus pi, right? Everybody see that? Okay. Amplitude, Kat. Period, Lillian. 2 pi divided by 2, which would be vertical shift. Anybody? Phase shift? Oh my goodness. Give up, half hour. Left, pi over 2. Okay. So if we were, they've labeled this for us, which kind of makes it a pain in the neck. I told you, didn't I, on the quiz, I just gave you blank space. You can draw it however you want, okay? I'm going to attempt to use theirs. If this is pi over 2, and it's 2 ticks to the right, and I'm supposed to go to the left pi over 2, I need another tick to the left and call it negative pi over 2. I always start with the midline. Where's our midline? It's just, there is no vertical shift, right? So we're good. So amplitude of 3 means it goes up to 3 and down to negative 3. When is it going to finish by? Well, let's do it the way we have. Negative pi over 2 is where we went to the left. That was our phase shift. And then we're going to add the period divided by 4 to find the quarter points. The period divided by 4. Okay. Common denominator, anybody? So this is really 2/4. So what's negative pi over 4 plus pi over 4? Negative, right? Negative 2, add 1 is negative. So this is where the next thing is going to happen. So what shape is this? Well, I don't need that. Yeah, it's a positive sign, so it's going to start at the midline. Do this. So if we're starting here, let me do that in red. We're starting here. At negative 1 pi over 4 is where its next quarter point is. It's reaching the maximum. If I add another pi over 4, what am I at? That's where it gets back to the midline. Okay? If I add another pi over 4, that's where it has a minimum, which would just be pi over 4. Add another pi over 4, which would be pi over 2, and it's back to the midline. So there's one period. We could keep going. This was shifted to the left pi over 4, and it was a sine graph. In the end, it would have been easier to just do what, maybe a negative sign, then we wouldn't have needed the phase shift. If I cover this half up, it's gonna do it hollow first. I'm just trying to lead into what we're doing today, guys. Well, I'm not very good at it. I want to fill it with something. Okay. If I had started just with that piece, do you see where that would have been a negative sign? And it wouldn't have required a phase shift. So there are multiple ways to write this equation that are equivalent. All right. Can anybody do the 5 ordered pairs real fast? Left pi over 2 and up. Left pi over 4 and up. 3 over 0 and up 0. That one's easy. Right pi over 4 and down. Yeah. And right pi over 2, 0. All right. This isn't a bad one. Did you try this one on your own? Could you try this one on your own? What do you think? I think it's going to be a little harder than I think because what's happening? Yep. And? Well, the midline is where? Yep, it's up 2. The amplitude is? So if I go up 2, it's going to go 1 above and below that to 3 and 1. There's my maxes, there's my mins, here's my midline. Okay, where am I supposed to start? Don't follow me, guys. That was a vertical shift, not a phase shift. I'm supposed to shift to the right, what? Okay, so somewhere over here is a pi over 3. And if you're like me, you're like, okay, let's just draw this bad boy. What is the shape of a cosine? Okay, so I'm going to start the maximum, midline, minimum, midline, maximum. All right, what's the period? There's no b value in here other than 1, so it's just 2 pi. All right, so let's figure this out. Our phase shift plus the quarter points, which is 2 pi divided by 4. Common denominator? You could use a calculator if you want, but it's 12, so this would multiply by 4 over 4, so I'd have 4 pi over 12 is where we started, and we're adding 6 pi over 12. Okay, so the next spot right here is 10 pi over 12. Does that reduce? I don't think so. 10 over 12 would reduce to 5 over 6. Then what am I supposed to add again? Another 6/12, which would be 16/12. 4 goes into both of those. Okay, and then I'm at another 6/12, which would be 22 over 12, which would be 11/6, and another 6/12 is 28/12, which has a pi. I just ran out of room. 28 divided by 4 would be 7/3. Okay, let me show you on the calculator because some of you are starting to freak out. Okay, the phase shift was 1/3 of a pi. Okay, I'm not putting the pi in. And the whole period was 2, so we had to divide that by 4. So we take the phase shift and add 2/4. Math, enter, enter. So 5/6 is the next one. Then you're adding 2/4 again. Math, enter, enter. Next one is 4/3. Then you're adding 2/4 again, which is really a half, and you can type it as a half. 11/6. Everybody good? So you can use a calculator. You getting it? All right, so the lovely, aka atrocious, ordered pairs are pi over 3, 3, 5 pi over 6, 2, 4 pi over 3, 1, 11 pi over 6, 2, and 7 pi over 3, 3. All right, so the question is it really as long as it's supposed to be? Well, 7 pi over 3 minus 1 pi over 3 would be what? 6 pi over 3. Is that 2 pi? Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to raise my right hand and tell you it won't be that bad on the quiz? I hope it's not, but I'm not promising anything. Okay. The frequency, we have not talked about frequency. Was there a frequency homework question? Okay. Okay. All that frequency is the reciprocal of period. Okay? The reciprocal of the period. So the frequency of a sinusoidal function is the number of cycles it completes in 1 unit. So if this was 1, it did 1, 2.5 cycles. Okay? So it's just the reciprocal of the period. That's all you need to know. It's used in music all the time. They talk about the frequency. Here's an example. I did not assign a word problem, I don't think, on the homework. Okay. It says the frequency is 262 hertz. So then it wants you to find write an equation. Okay. And it gave us an amplitude. So the period would be the reciprocal, and you'd put it in. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so what's the period here? The period would be 2 pi divided by 1/2, right? Because that's the b value. But the frequency is the reciprocal of that. So it's 1/2 divided by 2 pi, which would be 1/4 pi. If I had finished this, this is 2 pi times 1/2, or I'm sorry, times 2/1 or 4 pi. Right? The period was 4 pi. I should have finished it because then the reciprocal would just be 1/4 pi. I didn't explain that well. If you find the period, then you just do the reciprocal to find the frequency. If you were typing that in your calculator, you'd need parentheses around the 4 and the pi, but we don't have to do that. Midline, can anybody tell me the midline? It's the only other thing it asks. This is worksheet 10 at the underneath the questions. Y equals 1. Yes, it's just the vertical shift. All right, so this one real quick. What's the period, guys? This one's easier. 2 pi divided by b, which is, so the frequency is 3/2 pi. And the midline, y equals -2. Go back and look at that homework question about frequency now, okay? It's just the period flipped upside down. I did not assign one of these, so I think I'm going to skip this today, okay? Right, that wasn't a word problem, was it, on the homework? About frequency? Oh, okay. So this was last night's homework. And if I have time at the end, I'll go back and answer some questions there, okay? For now, what I would like us to switch over and talk about is writing equations from graphs. So we're going to do some off 13, and the homework is going to be 14. So I just have an example up here on the screen. Can anybody tell me some things about this graph? Would you most easily call this a sine or cosine graph? If you were sine, this would be easy, right? Without, you wouldn't need a shift. Okay. Does it have a vertical shift up or down? How do you know that? Okay. And because it's going evenly above and below, right? So the midline is at 0. The amplitude is 240. That's how far above and below. And the period is? Yeah, it finishes a cycle by 0.02 seconds or whatever that is, whatever unit it is. So is that the b that's going to go into the equation, 0.02? No. No, this is the period. So remember, we have to do 2 pi divided by b to get the period, or 2 pi divided by the period will give you the b value, and that's what we're going to need today. All right, so in general, the amplitude definition is max minus min divided by 2. Okay, it's not the maximum or the minimum. It's how far above and below. What if I add those and divide by 2? If I take the top and bottom and average them, what will I get? What's exactly in the middle? Midline. Yes, the midline, which is also the vertical shift. So max plus min divided by 2 will give you the midline. Okay, the period is just the length across to finish one cycle. Whether that's whatever the x is going across, whatever units it is, from where it starts to where it ends one whole cycle, or where there's a peak to a peak, anything, it's the length of one cycle. The shape we're looking for, do the directions say we have to do sines or cosines? No? Whatever we want? Okay, so... Okay, but I think we get to pick. So the sine, it would be this shape we would be looking for, and the cosine would be if we wanted to do maximum to maximum. Sometimes it's easier to look for one shape than the other. And the phase shift is going to be left or right to where we started. And it's going to be where we start that shape. Are we starting that sine to the right or a cosine to the left? We have to figure out where we're starting. All right, I can come back to this slide. We have questions on this stuff as we go. So the first one, I don't know, I'd probably decide first of all if I was looking at it as a sine or a cosine. It does start right in the middle at the midline, and it goes up, down. So it seems like it'd be pretty easy to call it a sine. So I'm going to put sine over here. What else? Tell me something else you can tell from the graph. The period. What's the period? You're going right for the tough stuff. Okay, it finished that whole cycle of one complete cycle by pi. So the b value is always just 2. Whoa. For sines and cosines, 2 pi divided by the new period will give us the b value. So 2 pi divided by pi will just make b 2 in the equation. Amplitude, anybody know what that is? Looks like it's going up to 3 and down to -3. Do we need a phase shift? As long as we didn't have to shift left or right and we called it a sine graph. If I'd said you had to call it a cosine, then we need a phase shift. Did we have a vertical shift up or down? All right. So the equation is just y equals a. What's a? The amplitude. And we decided to call it a sine. And then b and x plus or minus any phase shift or vertical shift, which there aren't any. Yep. All right, let's see how much faster they get more complicated. This one actually doesn't look bad at all. Hannah, tell me one thing. Okay. Chadwick, tell me one thing. Okay, so he said we should probably talk about it as a cosine because it was starting at the max and we can tell it finishes a cycle at 6 pi. So the period is 6 pi. He's going all in. All right, what does that make b? 2 pi divided by the new period of 6 pi would be, yeah. And my scribbling over here is really a mess. I apologize. Phase shift or vertical shift, do we need either one? Do you have an equation, Lillian, already? Anybody tell me? Nolan, yeah. You awake? What you got, Kayvon? Okay. If you wanted to put it in your calculator and check it, you'd have to be in radians. You'd have to set your window up to look like theirs. That might be a little trouble. Number 3, what looks different this time? Can you contrast this one with the last one? It's flipped. What do you mean by it's flipped? You think it should be a negative? Can't we start maximum to maximum? I don't think we necessarily have to do flipped. But I think there is a different, because it goes from -1 up to 3, right? So this is where students start getting things messed up. Because you have to find that midline, and what is that telling you? The vertical shift is up 1. The amplitude is not 3. It's going 2 above and below that. So if you wanted to do the formula, it's max minus min divided by 2. That would be 4 divided by 2 is 2. That's the amplitude. The formula for the midline is max plus min divided by 2. So you'd get 2 divided by 2 is up 1. You don't have to do that if you can eyeball it. All right, the period, how long did it take to finish the cycle? So B is 2 pi divided by pi over 2, or 2 pi times 2 over pi, which would be straight up 4. Cosine or sine? Okay, at this point you could tell me either one. The difference is going to be, does it need a phase shift? Well, if you tell me it's a cosine, do I have to use a phase shift? It starts on the maximum right on the y-axis, so it doesn't have one. So we have y equals 2. You told me cosine. The b is 4. No phase shift left or right, but it has a, where's the plus 1 go? Yeah, just on the back. How could we get away without a phase shift on this one? Yeah, because it starts here and it goes above and below like this. So write that equation, guys. See if you can get that one figured out. Nolan, can you try this one? Number 4. What's the period, guys? So 2 pi divided by 4 pi is just 1/2. Do we need a phase shift? Not if we call it a sine, right? So, Elsie, did you put it together?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, be real careful. The amplitude goes here, and then the the vertical shift. And it is, some books will always write it this way. Is that wrong, guys? What did I do? It's minus. Ay. Okay. It's also a phase shift, a vertical shift down, right? Man, I was just checking if you were awake. It was down to, and is this not, is that a 6? Oh, that's my problem. See, I thought that said -5. So this is 4 units down because -2 to +2 is 4 units up. Okay, gotcha. Thanks, guys. I thought it said 5 and then I wasn't going up. And all right, and it's a -2 on the back. Who had that right? Okay, good. Half the class is smarter than the teacher. We're in luck. All right. Is this going to need a shift? Where is the y-axis? I hate this picture. This is the y, right? I think it's the one with the arrows right there. Ugh. I don't know what I want to do here. All right. I don't think, okay. I don't even know if I can tell where the midline is. Can you? Does it look like it goes up to 6? Here, maybe? What is the highest? Where are the peaks at? And down to, okay. If the max is 6 minus the min, which is -10, that would be the amplitude is 8. The vertical shift is the max plus the min divided by 2, which would be -4 divided by 2, or -2. So somewhere down here is the midline. Okay, that's disgusting. We could do cosine or sine, but the issue is we need to figure out what all these little marks are called. If the second one is a pi/2, guys, what's the first one? Pi/4. Can I do this? I'm going to start right there. What would that shape be? Yeah, it's a negative cosine, right? You definitely did not have to do that. You could have other choices, but I just see where there's a min, and the min is to the right how much? Pi/4. Yes. If we start right on the y-axis, it's not at the midline or a max or a min, right? So it's not going to help us. All right, so what is the period? Can you tell what that is? What would this be? This max over here would be left 3 pi/4s or 3 tick marks. 1 pi/4, 2 pi/4, 3 pi/4, 4 pi/4, 5 pi/4. I think that's 8/4 all the way across. What's 8 pi/4, guys? So that makes B just 1. I won't give you this horrible graph, okay? Yes, amplitude is, oh, good call. I almost forgot the negative because it's upside down. Cosine, B value we said is 1, but how do we write to the right pi/4? And then a -2. Okay, we could have said we want to do a positive cosine and we're going to shift it all the way to the left over here. Does everybody see that if I had looked at this blue shape, I would have had a +8 cosine, and I could have said it shifted to the right 3 pi/4. Those are the same equation. Aren't you glad you don't have to grade these? Decide how many are right or wrong. All right. Is this the last one we have and then we do, oh, no, then we have this one. Okay. This is not exciting me either, but you know what? Yeah, we're going to do this. Just kidding. Okay. Does it look like the max is right here? Can we pretend it is? And the next maximum, can we pretend is there? So that would be a distance of what? Yeah. And see, my issue is I'm not really sure that's right because 3 pi doesn't look like where the min is, but we're going to pretend it is. So the period is 6 pi. So 2 pi divided by 6 pi is 1/3. Amplitude. If that's 10, can anybody count these? 1, 2, 3, 4? Is the min at 4? So the distance there is 6. So the midline would be at 7. Because if you add and divide by 2, you get 7. But if you subtract and divide by 2, what's the amplitude? And if we're using a plain old cosine that we kind of decided we were going to fake, it doesn't have a phase shift, right? Actually, I think there might be a tiny phase shift to the right. That's why we're getting off a little bit, but I'm not going to go with, I'm just going to go with there isn't one. 3, what did we decide to call it? Cosine 1/3 x plus 7. Okay, let's see if this last one's any easier. What do you want to call this? Okay. The issue is, can you tell exactly where that maximum is? But what could we do if we started here? What starts at the minimum? Or we could find the midline, but I don't know where that's. What shape is this, guys? Yes. Let's call it a negative cosine, and then we won't need a phase shift. All right. So the next question is, how long is the period? And you can't tell exactly what that is. But what is this? What is this right here, guys? That's 3.5. And how many cycles did it finish in 3.5? 2 cycles. Everybody see what I'm talking about? 2 cycles by 3.5. So what's 3.5 divided by 2? So this is 1.75. So the period is 1.75. So 2, or can you make that a fraction for me? So this is a little bit nicer. 5/4, is that right? Yes, 7/4, thank you. So 2 pi divided by 7/4, or 2 pi times 4/7 makes b 8 pi over 7. All right. How big is the whole thing? From 35 to 5 is, so what does that tell us? The amplitude is not 30. It's half that, or 15. So we have 15, but we're doing a negative cosine. Okay, if we add 5 and 35, we get 40, so the midline is at 20. All right, B was 8 pi over 7. Did we need a phase shift? We didn't need a phase shift. That's a plus 20 on the back. It's really messy. I'm sorry. We didn't need a phase shift because we decided to call it a negative cosine. All right. I'm going to call it a day and tell you that this is what you can get started on this weekend. All right. So I will go over questions. I hereby solemnly swear on Tuesday. If you can't figure out those frequency questions off the book page, let me know. And if you have questions on all of these, let me know. Okay? Tuesday, we will have time for questions, and then we're going to start working on writing the equation given the story. Did you notice what this story was about? Anybody read the question? This is about a Ferris wheel, the height on a Ferris wheel. Does it make sense that it started at the bottom? Get on the Ferris wheel at the bottom, right? So I'm going to give you the story instead of the picture starting on Tuesday. Have a great weekend.